Well, hey there, friend, and welcome back for another episode of the Your Hair Mentor podcast, where I'm your host and your hair mentor, Crystal Green. And I invite you to come take a listen to the top leaders and thinkers and experts and innovators in the beauty industry as they share their stories of triumph and struggles and success in creating their businesses behind the chair. I hope you enjoy these episodes just as much as I did recording them. See you on the inside, friend. Hi. Okay. Yay. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm super excited to chat with you guys today about what you're doing. But would you please give me a quick intro to each of you, what your names are, who you are?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Jenny Kahn, and I have been in the beauty industry for 18 years now, and I am co-founder of Industry Aligned.
Yes, ma'am. I'm David Castle. I've been in the health and wellness industry for the past 24 years, and I'm also co-founder of Industry Aligned.
Awesome. David, is there any way I could get you to scoot just a little bit closer so we could hear you a little better?
A little closer.
Snuggle up. You have a very soft, deep voice, so I couldn't hear you from farther away there. Awesome. Okay, so you are a hairstylist, Jenny, and then I'm sorry, David, can you repeat yours? I could barely hear you.
Absolutely, yes. I've been in the health and wellness industry for the past 24 years.
Awesome. Okay, and then are you two married together?
We've been
Together.
together for almost 7 years now.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice. Awesome. And so you started this business together.
we did. We started this business, so it's been in the works really since we met. And I had started my health journey about 2 years before I met David. I was very overweight. I was very unhealthy. I had that typical hairstylist lifestyle of like the smoking, drinking, over caffeinated, overworking, and really beating my body into the ground. So a couple years in, I was down almost 50 pounds by then. I met David, and he had so he had asked me if I'd be comfortable him putting me on his, kind of treating me like one of his online clients.
Okay.
So soon after he did that, he started doing my programming, my workout programming, my nutrition. I started to notice a really big difference in how I felt physically behind the chair.
Yeah.
So, and this was only a few months in, and I had said, the beauty industry is missing out. We need to do something.
Yes.
So I don't know what it would look like, but we need to figure out a way to get you into this industry. And really, we've been scheming since then. It was like, what would it look like? Because he's just one person.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to do just in-person training, that's not realistic because he also has his own clientele. And slowly over the years, Industry Aligned came to be.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, how far into your career, Jenny, were you when you kind of made the shift to more of a healthy lifestyle?
10 years.
Yeah, I can relate to that. That's kind of where I was. Same thing, too. I started very young in the industry and just kind of was like all in
Yeah.
on work and not on me. And after about 10 years, it was like, man, I've got some like hip pain. I've got some like shoulder
Yeah.
pain. I'm overworked. And it wasn't that I was trying to cure those things. I was just trying to be like healthy in general and had kind of discovered my fitness as an adult. And then along with that came some improvements with me standing behind the chair. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm kind of on to something here. But I had to fumble around for like 5 years to find anything that really worked for me. I mean, I don't know if you guys hear this a lot with clients, health clients, but I hate stretching. Like, I hate it. I would rather go and like lift weights any day than stretch and do some yoga. It just is not pleasurable to me. And so it took me years to figure out, like, okay, wait, I have to do some focused movement and stretching to loosen up all these like tight muscles that I had. So,
And believe
um,
it or not, I actually hear the opposite. So
really,
absolutely, there's a lot of women that have that tend to gear towards yoga and other modalities like that. So there's an intense amount of subluxation within tendons, meaning the tendons are very relaxed and loose, and the muscles are very relaxed and loose, and there's not a lot of tension and stability to keep the body upright. So it's actually great to hear the other side of the coin coming out of you. So it's fantastic.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. I've just never liked it. I'll go to yoga classes, but I will not do it on my own. And I have to be in the class for like the competitive me to come out to be like, okay, I'm not going to give up yet. I'm going to hold this pose or I'm going to keep going. But it's not my favorite thing. And actually, I have to admit, normally I kind of dress myself up a little bit more. Like I'll actually style my hair typically for podcast interviews. But seeing as though I was, okay, I'm like, well, seeing as though I'm interviewing people that are like health based and fitness, I went to the gym this morning and I sauna'd. So please excuse the hair, but I figured you would appreciate it.
Yeah, we just got back from the gym ourselves. We ate a quick meal and hopped on this. So we're like,
Perfect.
what's more important right now?
Exactly, right? It fits, it's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about industry aligned. I've seen your social media posts and like the quick little reels that you guys do, but in as a whole, what are you offering to hairstylists or and beauty professionals?
Yeah, I think it would be at the current moment, it's more of kind of these quick solutions and kind of giving people ideas to play around with their body a little bit more, having them understand that while their situation may not be 100% unique, their body is 100% unique. Their attachments are unique to them. The way that their body moves throughout the day is unique to them. So understanding a little bit of both, and I would call it a little bit more of movement theory at this point. So I want people to just start to open their minds and express a little bit more, play a little bit more, find out where your tight areas are, where your loose areas are, where you feel strong, where you feel weak, and then we can put all those pieces together as we collaborate as a community down the line.
Okay, so what do you envision this turning into then? Like as a paying customer, if I was coming to you, what would I be getting ideally?
Well, so we started back in the fall of hosting workshops
In
and
person or online?
in person.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on setting something up virtually. And, there are a lot of places we wouldn't be able to make it to, or they wouldn't be able to make it to us. So we'd still want to offer something to the demographic that just wouldn't be able to fly somewhere, or they're not in the location wherever we're doing a workshop. But we found the workshops to be successful in a way where David was there adjusting each person individually, and that was really cool. And I was also able to, from my end, show people how I work differently, how I use my body differently now, because
Mm-hmm.
I've learned different ways to use it through working out that have helped me. So this is a chance for me to show people in person things that I do as well. And what David and I were able to do was connect the two, because there are certain things that I learned how to do differently through movement, and he's able to teach that to somebody through movement and say, well, this is how she's able to stand further and still, not overuse her shoulders, use her
Mm-hmm.
back in it, and it's this movement that got her there. So it was really fun for me to step out while David was doing his thing with these beauty professionals to see light bulbs go on,
Mm-hmm.
and them really understand, whoa, I could be doing it like this instead of that. And you could tell them just getting back into the salon is going to feel a lot differently for them.
Oh
So
yeah.
workshops definitely, I think for us is going to be a really great thing, really more so for beauty professionals. It's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
great thing. But we're also working on the virtual aspect, which I'm happy about.
And also do one-on-one Zoom sessions. So if you were to come to me with specificity,
Uh-huh.
to address that in a specific manner. So we'd
Gotcha.
work off some general tissue modalities, whether we're doing some soft tissue work, I can teach you how to apply that to yourself. And then we get into the general tissue dysfunction and then the actual correction and then strengthening from there. So there's levels to the game and there's ways to progress any specific problem that you have. There's not too many things that I haven't seen at this point in the game. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually surprised with what someone comes to me with. even if someone's coming to me with, let's just kind of shoot spitball and say it's like just some plantar fasciitis. Usually it's someone telling me, I've been told I have the flattest foot in history. It's the flattest foot. Everyone's got the biggest problem ever. Again, and these
Yeah.
problems are extremely common. And you know, these therapists and doctors tend to pathologize these things. So what I like to do is kind of take the fear out of the pain, have the person understand that movement and pain kind of go together. It's actually an excellent teacher, and then teach you how to navigate around it and teach you how to correct it. So now you have these tools to go ahead and engage in the future on your own with,
Right.
"You don't need me anymore." And we can go on maybe to the next issue if you have another one, or maybe,
Right.
you know, it sets off another goal, which is one of the things I see more often than not. Once we get a person out of pain, it's like, well, I've always wanted to do this. Well, now we can. And then we work on strengthening and facilitating that goal as well.
Hmm. Have you guys heard, I'm sure you have, of there's two different platforms online that I've personally paid for education about this, not hairstylist focused stuff, but movement focused stuff. There's Gymnastic Bodies. I don't know if you've heard of them. They were like maybe 8 years ago that I paid for that. And then Movement University, or Move U. Have you heard of them as
I've
well?
heard of you. Yeah.
Okay. Your content kind of reminds me of the stuff that they do, but it's not focused to beauty professionals. It's just like body movement stuff. But both of those platforms I sought out as someone who was like experiencing these little issues with my body, right? As a hairstylist, I had certain aches and pains and complaints that I'm sure you're very familiar with now. And I'm so sorry, my phone's ringing. I did not turn it on silent. Pardon me. Um, and so I sought out these memberships as a way to try to figure out things I could do at home without going and paying for like a physical therapist, right? And it was overwhelming. There's like too many choices, or like if I didn't have a base of knowledge about like soft tissue or whatever, it would be like, I don't even know what they're talking about. So how do I even choose which video to play, or like where to focus my energy? And so I love the idea of something that you're like so hyper focused with for beauty professionals. I almost envision it being like shoulder pain video, or like blow dry pain video, pumping
Mhm.
your chair up and down pain, like the things that you do that would like help those specific movements and those things that we do behind the chair, and like almost just not like dumb it down, but like use the right hairstylist language to then make it feel tangible, Does that make sense?
Yeah,
100%.
that makes absolute sense. Um, there were a couple things that we started working on a couple years ago that it just reminded me, because you were saying, bringing up beauty industry terminology, and all the names we picked out for the movements were all like beauty industry names. I'm really excited about that one. But the one thing I wanted to tell you, when we first met, David and I remember telling him that I had been going to a chiropractor for years, and I had hip pain, and I had shoulder pain in the front of my shoulder where I couldn't even sleep on my side. There were certain things I couldn't carry groceries on that side. And, I just kind of submitted to the fact that I was a lemon.
I
And
kind of did
this
the
is what
same.
it was,
Uh-huh.
right? I
Mm-hmm.
didn't understand, because I'm like, well, I was going and getting all this help. I'm doing air
Mm-hmm.
quotes if you can't see me.
Yeah.
I was going and getting all this help, and I was going pretty frequently. I was going weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, and I was just getting relief for like maybe half the day, maybe the full day if I was lucky, and then I'd feel it again. So when
Mm-hmm.
I met David, and I remember we went to the gym together. In the beginning, I was like, oh, I can't do that because my shoulder, so I'll do this instead. And he's like, okay, so you should be able to do that. Let's address it. I'm like, no, 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 you don't understand. I've been going to a chiropractor. I go weekly, I go every 2 weeks, and it's just how I am.
Right.
And because he's of the mind where it's like, no, I don't accept that. There's got to be a way. It taught me to think in now in every aspect of life, not just that, but
Yeah.
there is another way. There's got to be another way. And
Yeah.
through movement, he helped me get out of these pains that I've had for years.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's a difference between, and I'm not necessarily saying that something's bad or better than the other, but there is an enormous difference between a passive modality and an active modality. So passive modality would be someone kind of facilitating movement for you, whether a
Okay.
chiropractor is adjusting bones or a massage therapist is loosening tissue or relaxing it neurologically, because there's a neurological component to pain. It's not just all physical, right? Your brain is shutting off access to a specific area because it doesn't feel safe diving deep into that area anymore. So your range will get limited over time. So
Mm-hmm.
that's typically what massage is. It's kind of relaxing your brain to allow your body to feel comfortable extending into a deeper range. But these are all passive. And again, they're not necessarily bad. Sometimes they're important because it reduces the pain enough to get the person more active. Active modality would be chasing the strength component and the stability component through movement. And I think this is one of the larger things that's missing is everyone's using a Theragun. Everyone's going to a chiropractor. Everyone's going to a massage therapist. Everyone's going to a physical therapist. But are they teaching you how to move your body appropriately? This is neural reprogramming. You're adjusting the way your biomechanics work to be more efficient and less expensive over time. And this is the bread. This is where you butter your bread. This is the stuff that matters the most. The other
Yeah.
stuff, again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, but you shouldn't rely on it. You need to rely on you teaching you how to move your body around. And
Right.
I think that over the course of me doing this for almost a quarter century, I've seen what you talked about, limitations and feeling like you're a lemon. I've seen so many people I've come across say these exact same things, or my problems are the worst problems someone's ever seen. But they'd be surprised how far they can get when they try. And they're blown away when they actually try and apply. Like, holy shit, I never thought that I could push this hard. I never thought that I could get out of pain. What's next? And I think
Mm,
that's one of the more important messages I like to convey to people is open the door, unlock
right.
the door, see what's on the
Right.
other side. You'll be blown away. Your body's potential is almost limitless, and
Yeah.
it's an exciting thing to see for people.
So you're making me immediately feel like, oh my God, this is me. So my limiting belief is I can't squat. Like I can't flat foot squat, right? I'm like tippy toes, or my knees are like, straight out. And I've tried all the different therapies for it with stretching, everything you just mentioned. I've tried, even when it comes to like different strength training and stuff like that. But I bet there's something in my daily work life that I'm doing that's like hindering some movement somewhere that's probably keeping that from happening. I've never even considered that. I'm always like, well, I remember squatting was kind of hard as a kid, so I must just have a problem and I can't squat.
And I hear that a lot too. There's all of these things that again get pathologized from our past, right? And there is a small component of that, right? But it doesn't necessarily make us nor break us, right? These things that
Right.
happened decades ago can resonate with us to a small degree. Connective tissues can get sticky, movements cannot feel comfortable. That's okay. Movements can even feel too vulnerable at times. But get
Mm-hmm.
the person to ease into it, understanding too that the body is a synergistic system. So even though we're talking about a squat with the hips, we need to look upstream and downstream of these issues. Maybe we do need to look at ankles, which would be kind of like the first go-to. Is there a connective tissue issue down there? Is there stability in the upper thoracic cage, kind of the mid-back area? We need to start to look away and see what's going on because these things are connected. Tissues are integrated, and a lot of these muscles are just kind of slapped on top of each other. So we need
Right.
to push, we need to pull, we need to adjust, we need to tweak, and we need to find it's literally a game of millimeters sometimes that gets us
Right.
correct and safe positions.
Wow. It's so convoluted. Like there's so many different answers.
And context is really important when dealing with the individual. And that's where, again, like I'm giving people kind of a general sense of movement with these videos, but really it's, again, kind of setting it off to the initial point that I made. I want people to explore. You need to find your specific way of getting there. I'll give you a path, but it's your personal practice.
Mm-hmm.
Practice daily, practice multiple times a day. And it doesn't even have to be a strenuous workout. It can just be,
Mm-hmm.
try this a little bit. You don't need to sweat. You just need to move.
Right.
We're greasing the grooves up a bit.
Right. So have you considered maybe creating some sort of a like fundamental movement series or something? Like I know obviously everyone's going to have like offshoots and special flavors of whatever that is, but having like a kind of yeah, like I guess fundamental or foundational is the only word that comes to mind. That's like start here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually have a phase one developed. We actually developed it and finished it, what, 2 years ago?
We started it 2 years
Started
ago.
2 years,
Yeah.
filmed it 2
And
years ago.
it's almost done. It's just our last finishing touches we have to put on it. And it's our really movement 101,
Okay.
if you will.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
ground. It's kind of a baseline to get people feeling their body, and again, kind of opening their mind a little bit. Okay, well, what's next?
Uh, another thing, David and I talk a lot. We spend a lot of time talking. And one of the other things that we talk about is we think as beauty professionals, because we feel beat down at the end of the day, that our occupation is active, but we're not active. We stand in one spot. We might move around the chair a little bit. The only
Right.
thing that moves really is our arms.
Yeah.
Our knees are locked. We kind of rest on our hip, so we're not even using our muscles to stand. We're resting on our joints, and we're not burning many calories. In order to be active, you'd be burning calories. So I think, one of the things that David said was, it's not that the job is physically taxing, because we need to use our bodies outside of our job. We do things that we carry groceries. If you're a mother, you carry kids. We carry our Amazon boxes. Like, we're always carrying things, we're doing things, we're walking, we're moving. So our bodies need to work not just at work. The problem is that our bodies aren't conditioned. And that's why it comes off as physically taxing. And David, I would love for you to dive a little deeper into that.
Sure. Yeah. There's not. I mean, when you think about the diameter in which you guys do around the chair, right? It's a 3x3 for the most part, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of upper appendage and upper extremity movement, but really it's the fine-tuned motor skills and the tactile abilities that you have to get into these, scissor over combs, or you're foiling, you're color correcting. You're being extremely detailed in these things, so it's neurologically taxing. You may have to deal with your client's long day that they want to offload on you. That's pretty taxing. But the physical component, you'll feel physically drained from that, but the physical component is really not there. And if you can't, especially as someone is seasoned in the industry, if you can't hold your body up for a 6 to 8 hour day, then you haven't been conditioning your system to accommodate a 6 and 8 hour day. It's not the job; it's how you're treating your system. So if we can look at that paradigm a little bit differently, we can then shift the paradigm. We can adjust these things, and it doesn't need to take, again, it doesn't need to be these extremely strenuous workouts. It could be a couple minutes in the morning, a couple minutes on a break, a couple minutes in the evening, just to facilitate tissue movement, just to hydrate tissues. Our body doesn't have a pump in its lymphatic system. We're the pump. So in order to get blood flow everywhere, in order to start to move some of these muscle byproducts and some of this negative, some of these negative chemistry throughout our system, we need to move, and we need to move frequently. It doesn't need to be in high dose, just it needs to be more frequent.
I could almost see what you're doing being really successful in a membership based model. You know what I mean? Where there's like some accountability factor going on there, where stylists are paying for maybe to be in a group or something. And there's like a check in, like, hey, did you do your midday stretches or your midday movement?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my biggest things for even wanting to do something like this was because first off, I told you about how I was heavier set, unhealthy lifestyle in every way. I had made that big change, noticed a huge difference, right? I was in the best shape of my life thanks to David's guidance. And in 2019, it was April 2019, almost exactly 4 years ago, I herniated my C5, C6.
Oof.
And David takes me to the emergency room. They do the MRI, and that's what it was. And I almost lost my ability to work.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up with a lot of money. My family did what they could. I had to work full time while I was in high school. I started in an industry that provided so much financial security for me individually, not having to rely on anybody for finances, that that was almost taken away from me because
Mm-hmm.
my body wouldn't allow me to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fortunate enough to not just know David, but to live with him, to have him care for me and help me rehab when one of the top facilities in the nation, downtown Chicago, couldn't help me. $7,000 later, just for PT, did nothing for me. He got me functioning. And now, yes, it's 4 years later. Yes, things take time. I actually did progress significantly from like in that time, but I'm stronger than I was before my injury,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I never want somebody to leave this industry because their body can't keep up. Because like David has taught me, there are options. There is another way. That can't
Right.
be the only thing. It can't be, nope, this is just what it is. I'm done.
But
And
it's
because
so common.
yes, it is so common. And what it makes me feel sad because it is common, but it also makes me happy that we did create this platform when I see people reach out saying, I just had back surgery, or, this is my injury that I've been dealing with for years. I've been chronically, in chronic pain for so many years because of my job. And they're reaching out to us um, for help. And I'm it sucks that you got to do things in order to learn
Mm-hmm.
or go through things in order to learn. But I'm glad that those were the trials that I went through personally, had David to help me so that now him and I can share this with the industry,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Absolutely. Yeah, you had to go through that like, oh crap, I'm gonna lose it all feeling to be like, I need to not do this and make it better. I
Yeah,
feel like
because they were pushing
unfortunately,
for surgery. They saw me weekly, my neurologist, and they kept saying, if you don't get any better, we're gonna need surgery because this is gonna be permanent nerve damage. I couldn't use my right arm.
Their
oh my gosh.
surgical intervention was one of the more aggressive ones too, where they cut you across the throat to get to the vertebrae. You know,
Oof, to fuse them, is that what it would have been? Oh gosh. Yeah. No,
yeah.
but yeah, I've heard of so many people that have had that just from like overuse injuries, or they end up like going down the carpal tunnel surgery path,
Mhm.
and then like never really coming back.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's sad.
won't ever be the same. And that's not to say that sometimes surgical intervention isn't the necessary tool to get the job done.
Right.
But more often than not, it should be the last option, and more often than not, it's pushed first. You know,
Right.
it is still a business. We need to understand that as people are trying to make money, even
Yeah.
if the intentions are good. This is
Mm-hmm.
happens sometimes in order to keep hospitals up and running and them doing their thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think this is great. I keep envisioning myself when I was telling you when I got more like health conscious in my career, and I was recognizing that I was doing these horrible movements during the day. I'm very tall. I'm like 5'11". And so a lot of the times my chairs didn't go tall enough.
Yeah.
And so I'd find myself, stooped over like the hunchback trying to get down to my client's hair. And when I was trying to be better about my body movements, it's almost like I was in these weird Tai Chi poses, like in squats and doing things, which
Yeah.
also were like okay, but not positions I could hold for a long time. At some point, I got a haircutting stool, which blew my mind. But I think about like those kind of things, like how many years was I bent over in this bad position before I'm like, oh, what am I doing? And how wonderful would it have been to have like a movement series that was shown to me like, here, this is how you're going to stand when you're cutting hair, because they teach you how to hold shears, but they don't teach you where to stand or how to maneuver around people, or like at the shampoo bowl, here's the hose and how to hold it. How you move your body is up to you, right? So again, hunched over, all awkward, twisted in positions. So I love the idea of creating something for stylists. Now, I'm assuming your target audience that you're talking to are like maybe younger stylists that haven't walked that path yet, or is that not the case? Or is it maybe someone who's like in a place of dysfunction already?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's the younger people maybe wanting to understand a little bit more about what could be coming up, and maybe even seeing older peers already in that kind of position. And we have the people that want to just be preventative in general, that are kind of middle of the road of their career. And then I get a lot of people that are in chronic pain, that they already have the repetitive stress and the overuse injuries, and then we're working our way out of that hole.
Gotcha.
We
Gotcha.
are actually, which I'm so excited about. Tomorrow, we're going to be speaking at Paul Mitchell's school in Chicago to the cosmetology students there.
Yeah.
And you just reminded me because you were speaking about like what they teach in beauty schools. And these are things that, could you imagine if we had learned this in school?
It would be amazing. There's
Could
so much I wish I learned in school.
I mean, and it makes sense because a lot of these cosmetology teachers are also, or just the curriculum itself is kind of archaic, right? It's just to get you
Very.
through the system, get your license, and move on. And we
Right?
learn the basics, and the basics haven't changed, but these are things that were never taught. And what I actually really enjoyed seeing was that in our workshops, a few of the attendees were some cosmetology students and assistants, like new to the
Mm,
industry. So I just thought to myself, like, you're already ahead of it. The
right.
techniques you're going to learn, like we've got a course for everything, for how to highlight,
Yeah.
for beauty business courses, for mindset and money and all of that in the beauty
Yep.
industry. But there's no education on this. And even if you go to a physical therapist or a chiropractor, or, whatever. I mean, I went back to go see my chiropractor, and my chiropractor was like, you don't need me anymore. Just stick with David. He's doing everything just fine.
Nice.
What am I for?
Yeah.
A lot of with chiropractors, again, it's just my opinion. There's no quantifiable data on this, but when it comes down to chiropractors adjusting bones, connective tissues and muscles are attached to bones. If you don't address the dysfunction of the muscle, these bones are just going to shift back due to the muscle being pulled or shifted or pushed in the wrong position. So,
Right.
you aggressively snapping, popping, clicking bones, and maybe giving that person again a neural response. Like, oh my God, there's an adrenaline rush from that. I feel amazing. And then 2 days later, you feel terrible. Well, you're not addressing symptoms, not the actual causation of the issue.
Right.
So it's kind of reverse engineering the problem and attacking it from a different angle.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you addressed people's footwear at all as beauty professionals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, it's hard to say this is bad, this is good, because
Yeah.
it's every
Right.
body is shaped differently. For me, I personally like a little bit of a heel, but there's a point where it's too high and my feet push forward too much. But I like just enough to get my heel off the ground. I stand a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they're too high, it's harder to get a softer bend in the knee for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you see a lot of people saying, no, 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 heels are bad. So they wear these super flat shoes, have zero support. Their ankles are collapsed. I'll let David touch up more on that because I know that it's bad. I know how it makes me feel, but I don't know why, if that makes sense. I just know that flats really, I mean, they're not the best either. So they're the two
Yeah.
extremes.
And again, we're kind of looking at passive versus active there, right? So the shoe is the passive modality when really the foot needs to be stronger in general. You kind
Yeah.
of want to think about developing almost a six pack on the bottom of your feet. You want something
Yeah.
nice and resilient tissue wise on the bottom of your feet, but you also want to have the ability to move toes and move metacarpals, move metatarsals. You want to be able to move these things around like they're a hand to a degree. You want to be able to pick things up with your feet, as weird as that sounds, right? You want to
Mm-hmm.
lay the toes out and reveal some space in between them, right?
Yeah.
So getting stuck, in a tight shoe or getting stuck in a flat shoe, really it's about the variety, right? And you, again, you taking the time to strengthen your foot and finding out those weak areas or those strong points and making adjustments to those tissues. Again, we're going back to, context is king here, or queen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would have been like your A student 10 years ago, I swear. Because, yeah, I went through the same evolution. The reason I bring this up is I bought those toe shoes, the Vibram toe
Oh,
shoes.
so
And I used to wear those in the salon because I was like, you guys in your heels are ruining your feet. I had been in heels previously and I'm standing on concrete and I'm like, what am I doing? But I didn't have the muscles in my feet to really support those shoes at all, too. So then I'd end up with like weird, like arch pain and stuff like that. And so I definitely could have been a great student with some guidance. So it's like people are seeking this stuff out, but we just need to know and understand like the actual processes to help. So that's
Yeah.
interesting.
so much more information than's even necessary for people to
Yes.
grab onto through social media, through the internet. And I think that you hit on a really good point that it's hard to kind of navigate through that unless you have a discernible filter for bullshit, right? And
Right.
you understand, hey, this is ridiculous. Like
Right.
this big red X against, your posture being forward and this green thumbs up if you stand erect. How often can you stand like this in a day? One's not
Right.
necessarily good or bad. Do you exhibit pain when you bend forward? You should probably get out of that shape then. Here's some alternatives, right? And just
Yeah.
kind of approaching it in that way, thinking a little bit more downstream and upstream. Again, not even just of physical issues, but even the process of your body. And that comes with lots of years of experience doing this and understanding that while all these problems are similar, there are those individualities that we need to start to differentiate between and then
Mm-hmm.
apply to people. But again, giving them the theory, giving them the thing, oh, wow, okay, this doesn't work, but this angle does. Having people understand you have 360 fucking degrees you can play around with. You don't need to be stuck in one plane or the other, right?
Yeah.
Let's move a little bit. Let's wiggle. Make the movement around your client to dance.
You
Not
know,
a dance, but
but I'm pretty sure in beauty school they teach you your chair moves. So you just stay in one spot and you swivel
Yeah.
your client around because it's easy, right? And so I
Yeah.
think we're trained to think that we need to stay in that one spot and we just move our client around this way. But I like your way of thinking way better just because it gets our body moving, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you saw me while I was working, I'm moving the entire time. The
Mm-hmm.
entire time. And even when I'm cutting, I'm sitting and standing and sitting and standing and lowering the chair and raising the chair. And I'm in constant motion. Again, I'm not very active. It still doesn't
Right.
mean I'm active, but I'm in constant motion and I'm not getting my body too used to one position for a
Right.
long period of time, even while I'm shampooing. And that was, a fun thing for me to demonstrate in our workshops of like the shampooing and the blow drying. Even something as simple as when we're shampooing, we've been doing it for so long. We know where the hairline is. We are so in tune
Tactile.
with our touch, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um we don't need to look down the entire time. It's different if we're working out the staining, from the hair color. If we did a touch up, you look
Mm-hmm.
down for that. But if you're just doing your shampoo, you can relax your shoulders and tilt your chin up a little bit. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be head down the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
So just simple things like that make a world of difference.
Mm-hmm.
Millimeters. So all this is,
Hmm.
you just play around a little bit and you'll find a whole different door of opportunities are right
Yeah.
there.
Right. Anyone that's ever done bar exercise, that BARRE, they
Yes.
they would understand those like minute movements and how big of a difference they can make, right? Where you're like, this isn't going to do anything, and then 30 seconds later, you're like, I'm gonna die. Just moving that little bit.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. As beauty professionals, we're so intentional and we understand the importance of intention when it comes to formulation.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't take into consideration our canvas so that we can put the appropriate color on top of that canvas so that we can achieve the desired result,
Mm-hmm.
if there's no intention behind it, we're not going to ever achieve our
Right.
desired result, right?
Right.
With haircuts, if you pull it in a 45-degree, you're going to get something completely different from a 90-degree to zero.
Right.
We know all this,
Yeah.
but what we have to put into play is intention behind the way we move and use our body.
Mm-hmm.
We're only focusing on the hair, but we're not focusing on the main tool.
Right. Right.
So our, as much as we can just keep spreading this message of your body is your main tool.
Yeah.
Everything else, like David says, it is an extension, but your body is what you need to focus on. And,
Mm-hmm.
something I like to bring to light also is the energy we put out there when we feel better. Our clients, right when they walk in the door, they know what they're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
They know what mood we're in. They know how much energy we have. They know if they are our first guest of the day or the last one, based on our energy levels. And something I like to say is our last guest of the client, we need to have the same amount of energy as we did for our first guest, for our last.
Right. Right.
And it's our responsibility to not make them feel like, oh God, we're just getting through this so we can be done already and get home. That's our responsibility. Unless we're giving them a discount for that service,
Yeah.
if
Uh-huh.
they're paying full price for that service, it's our responsibility to bring our A game for every single client. And
Mm-hmm.
if we're not feeling good, chances are we're not doing enough outside of work to prep for what we're doing at work.
Yeah.
And
Well, I feel like you guys are coming to the market at a really good time in the world. I don't know if you've heard a lot of talk about the new workforce, the young workforce. Um, I don't. I think I'm kind of in the middle with the age range, but I know like my parents' age group was like work, live to work, right? Like just work, 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 work. That's your life. Health was not a focus at all whatsoever. And then, in my young adult life, it was kind of brought to my attention that like everything's not about work. You can spend some time on yourself. And then the new young kids that are coming into the workforce are all like, no, I work to live. I don't live to work. And so they tend to be a little more health focused, a little more life balance focused. I feel like you're going to gain a lot of traction these days. Like imagine if you were 10 years ago or 20 years ago, there might be more people that were eye rolling like, oh, whatever. It's just, it is what it is. But I think
yeah.
more and more people are interested in working smart, right? And there's more to life than just work.
Mhm.
So I think this is a very cool thing and a great time for something like this.
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, thank you for saying that. You know, the one thing is that we don't only need our bodies for work. And we have in our industry changed so much as far as how we're able to do it. We can work 3 days a week and make way more money in 3 days a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is our body going to be able to enjoy the fruits of our labor when we're done working?
Right.
And or on our off days, or on our vacations, are we going to be able to take those hikes on our vacations? So this is going to be, because you and I weren't thinking about this 10 years, or it maybe just popped up in our
Right.
minds like eight
Barely.
10 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully this is going to change the trajectory of the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and um, how people live at work and outside of work, and the quality of life that they can have,
Yeah.
not having to submit to, this is just how my body is, I'm a lemon.
Right. Right.
So I
I
think
think
sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just say I think there's more hairstylists in general that are less what's the word? Not like addicted to stuff, but it's like less cool to be like smoking in the back room all the time or like snorting coke in the back room, which
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like used to be commonplace where you're like, oh my, is this real life right now? Like, jeez, I don't think that happens as much as it used to in like the 80s and the 90s.
Oh,
No.
no, not either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think vices are becoming less cool, and I think
Vices. There we go.
100%. I agree with that sentiment all day. And I think that there is just even in general a sense of people wanting to understand. the concept of longevity, and life expectancy, and just health in general. Like, how do I take care of myself the long term? And that's believe it or not, when I first started this a while ago, that was one of my first thoughts. Is, man, I want to do this when I'm 70, when I'm 80. I want to be that ripped guy that's walking around the gym feeling good. And these young kids aren't dusting me, I'm dusting them. You know,
Yeah.
I want more people, because a large portion of my population is in between the I've worked with anyone between 8 and 80, but a large portion currently is around the 50, 60 mark. You going into 70s. And again, you had said people weren't taking care of their health; they weren't as aware of their health. Well, now we're in that phase where it's extremely important. So if we can catch people sooner, we can have them understand that your body physiologically can change and adjust. You have a chronological version of aging and you have a cellular version of aging, and you can adjust your cellular version of aging. You can reverse age to a degree, and you can feel younger and more vibrant and more alive. You can have more energy behind the chair, moving more, believe it or not,
Mm-hmm.
than you could with these old lifestyle habits. So again,
Yeah.
just, having people drink the Kool-Aid, and it's healthy Kool-Aid, right? Whatever your
Mm.
version of healthy Kool-Aid
Yeah.
is, and having them understand that life can be so much more than you think. Things can taste better. Colors can be brighter. You can have more energy and more vitality going forward than you ever thought you possibly could.
That's great. So, what's your projected time frame that you will have something come to the market for like the masses, do you think?
I would say in the next few months.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
I would
awesome.
say in the next few months, um, with that program that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Uh, that one I'm that one I'm really excited for because it's something you can do at work,
Ah,
something you can do before you leave the house to go to work. It's
yeah.
something you can do when you're in between clients, when you leave work to decompress,
Mm-hmm.
standing at the bus stop waiting to go to work. I mean, you can do it
Yeah.
whenever, wherever. You don't need any bands or this or that. You just need your body.
That's the majority of the things that I try to put together. You see, there's no equipment in any of the movements that I
There's just
get.
a salon chair. I love it.
Now, I want people to understand that you don't need a gym full of equipment while accommodating resistance and weights. These are all great things, and you should maybe start to think about progressing into those. When you're starting out, or you're just trying to figure out your body, and even if you're a healthy person, you're trying to figure out where your specific pains or dysfunctions are at, let's just move. Let's
Mm-hmm.
find movements that work well, that are pain free. Let's even dive into a little bit of pain and understand what's going on there, so we can learn about our body to then get the hell out of it.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of these tools are necessary. And with this program, people will see. We'll be in a salon environment. It's already filmed and done, and they can again just go up next to a wall. They can hold on to a salon chair,
I
and you
love
can
it.
do business.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's super
Thank you.
cool. Yeah, I think that's the most appealing part of your like social media stuff is that it literally looks like you're just standing in the salon corner doing stuff with the salon chair. And you're like, "Oh, look, yeah, you could do that between
Yeah.
clients. While you're like dusting your chair, you can be doing this thing with your arms and it'd be great."
Absolutely. And you don't even have to break a sweat doing it. So it can be literally in between a guest.
That's a big selling point probably for a lot of people too is like, okay, if you like did your hair and your makeup and went to work, you're not going to want to break a sweat between clients, but if you're just gentle moving, it's not going to make you look like you're schwitzing between
Yeah.
people. Mhm.
Yeah. It's the simple fixes,
Mhm.
slight adjustments that make the biggest impact.
Mhm. Well, that's just fantastic. I'm so excited for you guys and I'm happy to see people doing this for the industry that I love so much. As toxic as it can be, it's also a very beautiful industry that can make awesome careers for people. So I think you're going to help a lot of people. That's great.
Thank you. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, pleasure to be
Awesome. Well, unless you had any other specifics to share, I think we can kind of wrap it up a little bit here. Is there anything else you wanted to share? I mean, it feels like you're on point with what you're doing. So tell all my listeners where they can find you for now and maybe where
Absolutely.
they'll find you in the future.
Yeah, so we've got our website, industryaligned.com, and you'll be able to find our upcoming workshops on there. And uh, we're also on Instagram at Industry Aligned.
Okay. And do you keep an email list or anything like that?
And we'll be at the beauty show as well, the Chicago America's Beauty Show. Yeah, in Chicago. And that is mid-April. So,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Maybe I'll get the details from you and put it in the show notes here with a link for people.
yeah.
Wonderful.
What was the other thing you asked?
Email list. Do you have anywhere where people can sign up and like get
Yes,
information?
absolutely. That is all on our website so that anytime we have something new coming in, you will be the first to know.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. This was such a pleasure. And I'll be stalking you guys on Instagram, watching all of your little tips and tricks.
Thank you for having us on your show.
Yeah. Thank
Really,
you for
really nice
meeting.
talking to you.
Yeah. And have fun with the workshops that you're doing.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Bye, you
Bye
too.
bye. All right, friend. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Your Hair Mentor podcast. It has been my pleasure to be here as your host. Again, my name is Crystal Green. And until next time, my friend, as I always love to say, have a wonderful hair day, and I'll see you then. Okay, bye.